Hi guys, I'm going to film the chapter 3 video. If I sound horrible, it's because I had a fever of 102.7 yesterday, so I'm going to be going through this very quickly. But I'm doing this for you guys, because I want you to pass this test. So here's the video, there's the outline of the chapter, we're going to be going through really quick. Let me go ahead and get rid of this, because this is actually going to be part of the quiz we're going to have on religion. We're getting rid of these two, just so you know. We're not getting rid of them, but we're going to put those two together in a religion quiz that will be, well, I don't know what year you're watching this, so just be advised there will be a religion quiz. And I'm also going to be doing this, which is probably going to be kind of annoying and not super viewer-friendly by any means, but this will give you an idea of what the study guide looks like. So number 5, I'm going to go ahead and pull this back up. Let's go ahead and, whoop, there we go. All right. So number 5, I want to make sure I got my numbers right. You could just draw that. You have to know what an iron smelting furnace looks like. That's iron. There's hot coals. That's what we call a chimney. It basically cooks the iron, removes the oxygen, nitrogen, and leaves behind pure iron so it could be turned into weapons. Now the main group we're going to be talking about is the Indo-Europeans, which are a huge group of people. We'll talk about Hinduism a little bit because they create Hinduism. They also end up creating Buddhism as well, but again, that will actually be more on the religion quiz. And then also, I was going to say they create Judaism, but they don't. The Jewish people actually came from the Mesopotamians, so not sure why they actually put that in this chapter, because this chapter is supposed to be primarily about the Indo-Europeans. Should actually be in the next chapter if I was writing the book, but I'm not. So here we go. This is the exit document we talked about, at least in the 2024 school year. There it is. Yeah, consider these. You can Google that music if you have a computer in front of you. And there is Krishna, who is supposed to be the human form of the Hindu god Vishnu, who we'll get into more detail on when we talk about religion. So stay tuned for another video. So this big group of people called the Indo-Europeans came from this area called the steppe. Okay, that's the answer to number 1 also. It's a grassland. They moved out pretty much everywhere. So as you can see, they became the Europeans groups, the Greeks. They moved into India, Ukraine. They became the Slavs, the people who lived in the woodlands of Western Russia. Large groups. They ended up founding lots of different religions, but they're called the Indo-Europeans. Nobody really knows why they broke apart, but they started in this area between the Black and Caspian Seas, and they learned how to smelt iron and use chariots. So they just pretty much went through and just destroyed everybody and conquered, because they were huge too, massive. So most of the languages from, well, I don't want to say all of the Southwestern Asian languages, but many of them come from some dialect of Indo-European, we think. I mean, it's not necessarily like maybe Hindi, different languages spoken within India and Pakistan, you know, different areas like Kazakhstan, like other like places in that region probably came from the Indo-Europeans. We know Greek did. We know some of the Semitic languages did. But anyways, there's number 6. We already got number 5. So the most powerful group to emerge early on are called the Hittites. They emerged in Turkey around 2000 BC. I mean, they're not the only ones, though, of course. The Indo-Europeans were a massive group. But they basically are well known for conquering Babylon, Mesopotamia, you know, the area we talked about, Mesopotamia, with being the capital. They captured that area. And they captured Turkey. There's Turkey right there. And look at Cyprus. Doesn't it look like a tiny little United States? It really does. All right, moving on. They adopted Akkadian as their language because it helped them to unify their kingdom. And of course, it was actually really smart because they also adopted Mesopotamian art, law, and politics. They really liked the Mesopotamians, actually. They pretty much stole everything from them and used it to manage their kingdom, which lasted a couple hundred years until tribes from the north came in and just burnt their capitals to the ground. The Hittites used chariots and were powerful, but the problem was it's likely they were hit with by attacks from other Indo-European groups. came in from the north, who also had significant weaponry, chariots, things like that. Also, the Hittites were way overexpanded by 1190. And so they came in and just started lighting cities on fire, and that's usually a recipe for disaster. All right, the next group, the Aryans. Now, they're a significant group because they will actually be ones who conquer India, who is the most populous country today. They're also going to be the creators of Hinduism. They and the Indus people who we've previously talked about. This is the Hindu god Brahma, because the Aryans divided their caste system or their class system based on this way, as you can see. And they read these traditions called the Vedas, which were like hymns to the Aryan gods, who will later be named the Hindu gods. But they were around the same time period as the Hittites. So the Hittites were doing their thing over there. All the other Indo-European groups, by the way, it's not like we're forgetting them. They're over in Europe, just walking around like nomads, not really doing a whole lot around 2000 BC, not yet. We'll talk about a couple groups. But this group originated between the Caspian and Aral seas, and they believed in something called the Vedas, which again will later on be called essentially Hindu holy texts. They go into the Indus River Valley and pretty much take over. The Indus people who were left, of those who didn't disperse, were actually super peaceful, lived in really clean cities, and these guys just came in and just absolutely annihilated. But basically, the Vedas were prayers, magic spells, and instructions for performing rituals. Some rituals are still performed today. Some have actually been made illegal, like the Act of Sati was made illegal, I think, after World War II. It was an ancient tradition. I can't remember if it dated back to this time period. I have to visit that topic, but basically it was considered improper for a woman to outlive her husband. So if he died before she did, she would be required to burn herself in a flaming heap on top of his body. And so the British made that illegal because they actually ruled India for quite a period of time. But that's not obviously legal anymore. The Vedas were told as like legends. And there's a lot of them. The Rig Veda is the biggest, with over 1,000 hymns to their gods. And so these guys would have been this group that would have came from here and settled in India and Pakistan. Just you can see a few of them written in Sanskrit. Brahman is over here, who's the main Hindu god. And some of these gods they think probably actually came from the ancient Indus people as well. But anyways, yeah, so the difference between the Aryans and the Dasas. Aryans were taller, bigger stature, lighter in skin tone, so just slightly. They also spoke they spoke their own language. The Dasas were the people who were already in India. They were living in like these nice little neat communities, very clean because that's how the Indus people were. The Aryans come in and basically have no form of writing, and they value cows. Cows are super wealthy, and they're still considered to be a holy animal in Hindu culture. So that was number 15, the highlighted portions. You're just going to have to match the characteristic with the groups. I have no idea what number 16 is. Let's have a look, because I've changed this so many times, as you can see. There we go. First and fifth. I couldn't remember because I've changed this so many times. So, and again, I don't have the right one highlighted, so you can go ahead and put that there. So the Brahmins are number 1, the priests, and then the untouchables are last. Unfortunately, your caste membership was determined by skin color, or known as Varna. You're born into your caste. And as you can see, there's a lot to do with this, guys, but I don't have time because of time constraints to get into all the class system. So eventually the Aryans are going to take over all of India into the Ganges River Valley, as you just saw. These local Aryan kingdoms will eventually be ruled by a kingdom called Magadha, and that is number 19. The Ganges is number 18, by the way. The Ganges is number 18. So making sure I'm getting you all these answers here. Humans. Yeah, Ganges is number 18. I think I went a little too fast through that. There we go. All right. Magadha is this one Aryan kingdom that comes to unify all of India for number 19. That's how India basically becomes a unified kingdom. They believed in a series of epics, by the way, that were written actually during this time period. So the Hindus consider a lot of this to be holy as well, in addition to the Vedas. The Mahabharata, which is a book basically telling of the great legends of the Hindu gods. The Bhagavad Gita is the main chapter, and it tells the story of Krishna, who is this heroic being, basically, who comes as there's one of the main three gods. There's Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahma. They're like the main three Hindu gods, and Vishnu takes the form of Krishna, who's supposed to be like a superhero. He's the blue guy I showed you at the beginning. There he is pictured. Okay. I don't know if we answered this. I know we didn't answer it in 2024. It's just an interesting question. I didn't ask you guys this. So I'm going to have to go fast through this last section because we are just about out of time. Okay, seafaring traders. This is another group of Indo-Europeans who came around 2000 to 1400. They started settling in Greece, Crete to be specific. They're called the Minoans. They traded pottery. They influenced modern Greece. Basically everything that you know about the classical Greece is stolen from these guys, including the idea of using pillars and stuff. Knossos was the main capital. The civilization is named after King Minos, who supposedly kept a dreadful beast called the Minotaur in his basement, which we don't have time to get into the legend of the Minotaur in this video because it's too short. And also, it's a really weird story, and we mentioned it very briefly in class, but it's quite an odd tale, so we're going to take a pass on that. But anyways, he kept this creature in the basement because he hated this monster so much. He kept him in the labyrinth, which is an unsolvable maze. But many of the Greek gods are thought to originate from Minoan society, Greek language, a lot of stuff. Okay, he's also referenced in Dante's Inferno. They believed in a sun god and a fertility / mother nature type god. Obviously the Minotaur has been hitting the gym quite a bit in this comic book depiction. I don't know if that's what they would have actually thought of him as looking like, but clearly been hitting leg and arm and chest and back day. There he is. All right. But anyways, yeah, they originated like almost like an original Olympic Games, not quite like the Greeks, but boxing, wrestling, and bull leaping. Yikes. Try not to get gored to death. But they believed in women's rights quite a bit because of, they believed in a god called Mother Earth, which the Greeks did also. And so women were priestesses, and so women had a pretty high value in that society. And same with some of the Greek cities like Sparta and stuff, who women actually had the ability to run their own estates. So what happened to the Minoans? Probably a natural disaster, overpopulation, overrun by invaders like other Greeks, like the Dorians or something. We don't know. But anyways, after they fall off, they pretty much control the Mediterranean. But after they fall off, another group emerges from Phoenicia, this area right here. They're called the Phoenicians. And guess what? They were also an Indo-European group. They originate a little bit later on. They have a slow start. They come out of Lebanon, and they'll build many big cities like Byblos, Tyre, and Sidon. Yeah, they made books in Byblos. That's where we get the name Bible from, by the way. Looks like my battery's running low, so I'm going to have to talk even faster. Supposedly they sailed through the Strait of Gibraltar along the coast of Africa. That's questionable, but we're going to say it's probably true because the textbook says it. But definitely I would read sources on that. Byblos is where they made papyrus paper for making books. And they founded Carthage, which was considered to be the greatest colony of the Phoenician society. They traded these types of goods. They also made an alphabet for merchant transactions. Each letter had a sound. Aleph and Beth were the first two letters. That's where we get the name alphabet. You can see the similarities. These guys are going to come to control all of the Mediterranean world. And there's the three kingdoms that would conquer them later on. I'd love to talk about the Phoenicians more, but I am straight up out of time and out of battery life. So there you go. We'll talk about it more in class. And also make sure you know where Turkey, Greece, Israel, and Egypt are on a map. There you go. You can see it. All right, guys. Have a good day in Historic Greenville, PA. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Well, I don't have comments on, so like and subscribe. See you later.